If you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering how the hell do you slack pull, right? And I was in your position not that long ago, right? I was scrolling on social media, on YouTube, on how to properly pull the slack out of the deadlift bar, right? Because if you don't know, the slack is pretty much the tension in the bar. And when you are slack pulling, right, this is pretty much pre-bending the bar before you actually pick up the weight. Because slack is pretty much an added tension, right? And when you're ripping and gripping the deadlift bar, you're pretty much fighting against not only the slack, the bar, gravity, and the weights, right? But unless you slack pull, which is pretty much one fluid motion, the deadlift becomes a lot more easier, right? That's why I got a lot of comments from people. You probably get a lot of comments from people too, when you are ripping and gripping, and people are like, you know how strong you are for just ripping and gripping, but imagine how stronger you could be once you master the slack pull, right? And that's what we're going to be covering over in today's video. But before we do that, I do want to shout out my workout program. It's only $5, less than a Big Mac, but more fulfilling. And it's pretty much what helped me get to my insane deadlift, right? I could deadlift 635. Here's a video of me doing that. And I could bench press 405. Here's a video of me doing that. Again, this is a workout program I designed myself. It's garnered towards strength training and hypertrophy. And again, it's only $5. But getting back into the video, so slack pulling, right? It's very detrimental that you learn how to slack pull. It will 100%, it's a game changer, right? It pretty much helped me from, you know, struggling on 585. Here's a video of me doing that.
Push, easy, go.
So you're pretty much making 585 look light as hell. Right. Slack pull is pretty much initially you bending the bar before the deadlift comes up, right? Here's an image of that. So you know you are slack pulling correctly when the plates are off the ground, right? Before you even pulled the weight, right? That's how you know you slack pulled. And to get to this, right, I 100% recommend when you're deadlifting, do not squat your deadlifts, right? What you want to do is pretty much have like soft bend in the knees, right? You want a relatively straight legs, right? And you're gonna come grab down onto the bar and then you're gonna pull it. When you pull the bar, right, I want you to pitch the pockets, right? Pitch the pockets, chest up a little bit. And when you do the pitch to the pockets, right, your body kind of forces you to wedge in a little bit, right? Your hips come down just a slight bit, right? Not too much. And let me get back into the hip part, right? And this is where people really fuck up when it comes to the hips. When people squat their deadlifts or get down too low, right? Because they want that nice little, oh, my back is straight and perfect, right? But what happens is when you squat down too low and you proceed to deadlift, your hips shoot up before the bar comes up, right? Which pretty much destroys the whole purpose of slack pulling, right? Here's a video of me doing that right here. Right, in that video, you saw my hip shoot up first, and yeah, 495 moved pretty decent. But when you go up more into weight, like weight that you're not really comfortable with, it becomes a problem, right? Because when your hips shoot up first, your low back is pretty much compromised, right? It's the irony of pretty much deadlifting, what a lot of these form critiques like to talk about, right? Because when you're trying to keep that perfect straight back when squatting your deadlift or really getting your hips way too low, your hips shoot up, you put your low back at a compromised position, and you're actually at more risk for back injuries, right? Versus where you are, you know, soft in the knees, you're keeping your legs pretty much not straight, but again, soft bend in the knees, and you're keeping your arms straight, but you do the pits to the pockets, right? You kind of wedge yourself in. Your hips are still like at a really decent position, right? You want to keep them 45-degree angle. And then they literally lower themselves, right? To a perfect spot. And then when you pick the bar up, you don't see your hips shoot up or anything, right? And you might see a slight rounding in the upper back. Like here's a picture of this right here. That's fine. That is actually what you want, right? It's efficient, right? That's pretty much making your body pull in a much more efficient manner because it's keeping the bar closer to it, probably even shortening the range of motion just a tad bit. And it's making your posterior chain work even harder, right? Which is what you want when you come to deadlifting, right? The whole purpose of deadlifting is increasing your posterior chain, your spinal erectors, your glutes, and your hamstrings, right? So again, please don't squat your deadlifts. And plus, it just ruins the whole part of slack pulling, because when your hips shoot up first before the bar comes up, you did not do a successful slack pull, right? At this point, you're fighting against the tension, and nothing you did just mattered at that point, right? So again, to do a perfect slack pull, you want to keep your arms straight, and you want to pretty much only have a soft bend in your knees, and then you're going to pull on the bar. You're going to really pull on the bar. And when you pull on the bar, again, pits to pockets. When you do the pits to pockets, your hips will naturally lower a bit, wedging yourself into the bar, closer to the bar, and you're pretty much yourself tighter, right? You got a tight wedge into the bar, and that's pretty much the slack pull, right? And you know you did it successfully when I'll have an image of it right here, when the plates are hovering above the ground, the deadlift platform. That's how you know you did it successfully, right? But that's today's video about slack pulling and pretty much how I mastered it. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.